Hello and welcome to the kickoff party for the upcoming Games for All Game Design Challenge. Legends of Learning and the IGDA are so excited to invite all K-12 students to participate in the challenge. The Game Design Challenge empowers students to create their own video game through a collaborative and creative critical thinking journey. We are so excited that the theme for this upcoming challenge is Games for All. The goal of this theme is for all participants to create a video game that cultivates inclusion among players in a collaborative way. Dell, along with Legends of Learning and the IGDA, firmly believes in equity within our communities and that technology, including video games, is an amazing way to bridge the gap between people of different genders, cultures, orientations, socioeconomic statuses, and abilities. The winners of the Game Design Challenge will receive some incredible prizes, including $500 Amazon gift cards and amazing swag bags with swags from all of our incredible partners. From Dell to Microsoft, Alienware, Roblox, Epic Games, Unity Technologies. We are so excited to have put together an incredible lineup of game developers to share their knowledge, share their expertise, and inspire students to build their very own game. Please join us starting March 1st and submit your entries by May 1st to be included in this year's Game for All Game Design Challenge. We are so excited to see what you come up with. So we will go ahead and jump right in to our expert panel. So we are very excited to have Nicole joining us from Pennsylvania. We have Steve joining us from Ohio. Sarah again from Pennsylvania, love it. We have Teresita from California. And David, who is a parent team leader. And David, where are you calling in from?
We're in Marietta, Georgia.
Okay, Georgia, nice. So we have some fun national appearances here from both teachers and parent participants, both of which are welcome to have teams in the Game Design Challenge. So we'll go ahead and give you guys just a little bit of time to introduce yourselves. I'll call on you one by one, so you don't have to jump in. But Nicole, do you want to kick us off with your name, your school, and describe the team or teams that you had participate in the last Game Design Challenge?
Hi, I'm Nicole Ruppert. I teach gifted support in the Ephrata Area School District, and I have students in grades K through 5. The students are a variety of kids that are either identified as gifted, or some of them are just students that are needing some enrichment and advanced learning opportunities. So we had a hodgepodge of teams. I think we had 8 teams blended from different grade levels, as well as different backgrounds in their learning abilities. And then that was the first challenge. This most recent one, I think, between my colleague and I, we had 9 teams submit for the board game challenge. And then I already have a list of students who are interested in the video game design challenge, knowing that it's coming up. So
that's awesome. I love to hear the collaboration between so many different students and teachers. We're really excited to have you here, Nicole. Thanks. Maybe Steve, do you want to jump in next?
Sure, my name's Steve. When this competition last ran with the Advancing Sustainability competition, I had 2 students who were interested in taking part, and they had both had my game design and development class, and I believe they both had or were in process of taking my advanced game design and development class as well. And I think it was a great experience for them and a great way for them to get to create something that was shown before, people outside the classroom with, experience in this area.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's awesome to hear that they were in a class about game design. So it's very relevant to what they were already learning from you. Great. Sarah, do you want to jump in next?
Hi, my name is Sarah Smith. I'm also a gifted support teacher from Pennsylvania. And last year, we also participated in the Advancing Sustainability Game Design Challenge. I had 2 teams. One of my students was a second grade student who was one of the grand winners for his board game based challenge. I think last year was a hybrid competition where it could be video or board game. So he won with his board game, which was the super long math game of rolling dice and saving Earth. He did want to see if we could trademark that. I said, I think we're good on that name. No one else is going to steal it. But I liked the open-ended nature. The students really got to go in any direction, use their creativity. We're really excited about it. They liked watching the different sessions in the evening. It was really fun, especially last year because we were hybrid. So it was kind of this journey that we are going through together. I also had a group of 8th grade gentlemen who were a team and were an honorable mention. They used a Roblox platform, coding platform, to design a video game last year. So they really liked that a lot. And we had a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it this year.
That's awesome. I absolutely loved Gage's game. He was incredible in his little, I think he wore like an Avengers shirt or some sort of superhero shirt during his video. He was so cute and we loved his submission for sure. Awesome. Teresita, do you want to jump in?
Hello, I'm Teresita and I teach at a sixth grade level. We were in distance learning at the time, and I thought it just one kid, I remember he was very interested. He's into gaming and he wants to become a YouTuber someday. So I remembered about him, but I brought it up to our principal and I was like, hey, can I have this opportunity to open up to our upper grade students and design a game? So I did. I opened it up to our 3rd and 6th grade for our school. However, I only had a few students, and then some of them they thought it was about playing video games. So some of them got discouraged, or maybe some of them weren't available to come after distance learning, come back into the computer. But our group, it was composed of different students in different grade levels. So it was very interesting to see how all their ideas just came together. So this time, this will be our 2nd year that we're going to try to participate and see what it brings.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the challenge, when you get to see students from different grade levels working together, because each one brings a different perspective, a different energy, and it's really awesome to see them come together in that way. And then last but definitely not least, David, our parent team lead. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a parent and why you chose to do the GDC?
Yeah, we started off during the pandemic. The kids were learning at home and we were just trying to find things to do. We were playing lots of games, lots of video games and board games. And I saw a team from Marietta had been a finalist or had won the challenge. I said, well, let me check it out. And we decided to give it a try, and we did I think it was building communities in the fall of 2020, and we were a finalist, and then an honorable mention during the sustainability. And it was just fun. It was fun to come up with ideas and discuss it at the dinner table. My kids, my son at the time, he was in 6th grade, and my daughter in the 2nd. Now they're in 7th and 3rd, and they work together well, and it gave them a good project to work on together. They usually don't get to do things, build something together. So it was a lot of fun, and it was nice to have something with a deadline and something, just we would like to see the other winners of the contest. We're always at the end of it, we're like, oh, what kind of game is that? What did they do? But it's just fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we've been so amazed by how many people have really brought this home and worked on it, with siblings or friends in the neighborhood. And it's awesome that so many kids want to work on this even outside of school hours. So awesome. So our first question, which David, you can kick us off on, is what did you want your students to get out of the GDC? And what did you feel they did get out of the GDC?
I think the biggest thing was just the creative, like having a creative project to work on other than just randomly drawing or building. And it really, we like the theme, and then having to build something around the theme. That was a useful exercise. for the kids, a good learning experience, especially during the distance learning last year. They're back in the classrooms this year, but when they were virtual, it really gave them something to focus on, and yeah, we really enjoyed that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Creative projects are always a great thing to get into, especially during hybrid or distance learning.
Yeah.
But Teresita, do you want to go next with what you wanted your kids to get out of it and what you really felt like they did?
Well, really, I just wanted them to have fun. I really like to see how when just their creativity, but what they really got out of it, it's kind of having a real life experience of working on a project and then being able to build on each other's ideas into a final product. At the end, I did get feedback from them. They said that they really liked it. They like working with others. So I think they got kind of a real life experience out of it. And it was a great one because they got rewarded for it.
Yes, absolutely. I know. I feel like throughout your whole life, you're doing group projects and you don't really realize how important they are until you become an adult. And you're like, oh my gosh, my whole life is a group project now. So it's good for them to get that experience. Sarah, did you want to go next?
Yes, I think one of the main things my students got out of it was inspiration. The dreaming, what could we be working together in a group? And I think Mr. Ritter mentioned that timeline. That's really helpful for my students because they dream big. But then this project, especially for my 8th graders who were coding, could have stretched on forever and ever and ever and not really come to anything. And so, managing timelines and group expectations and who's going to do what, working together as a group, and then having something they really feel proud of at the end. I think those were all a lot of really great lessons. So, from a lot of different angles, but I agree with the group work. And also for my student who was individual, just having that final piece to show and be proud of. He was so surprised he won. That was like a cherry on top, but really just that he had this great game that he wanted to show people and he was sharing it with his class. And so, just having that inspiration, that drive, that push to put something together and then be able to share it and be proud.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Steve, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think the main thing I wanted my students to get was having an authentic audience, in this case of judges and people who have more experience in this. And again, having someone outside the classroom get to see and experience their projects. I think that was a great opportunity, as well as competition. Like I really like competition when it comes to creating things because it just provides a whole new dimension for producing. So I think those are the two main things: competition as well as a authentic audience.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that authentic audience. Our judges are game developers and they are looking at this as, what would I have created when I was in 2nd grade or 10th grade or anywhere in between. And so it's awesome that they get to really interface with those students. It's a joy for them as well. But last but not least, Nicole.
I think our focus was really on the life ready graduate aspect that we empower students through in our school district. And that's looking into things like creativity, responsibility, all of those traits that they're going to need at some point when they're outside in the real world, outside of our brick and mortar setting. So it's just interesting to have the opportunity for kids to self-pursue a learning opportunity and work through their own timelines. But really the biggest part was just taking, our failures in stride and using them as learning opportunities and fuel for future design challenges, or for this one, if something wasn't working out for them. So that's kind of really the big learning opportunity, and especially with students who are identified, failure is something that not often is experienced. So something like this for them was a huge learning opportunity that really sets the standard for what things may be like when they're getting out into the real world. But opportunities like this are just great for them to pursue their passions and have those chances to experience some failure and to be resilient in the face of that and show some grit and stamina for learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, talking to the game designers about play testing, they're like, oh, you build this amazing thing and then you show someone and they have no idea how to play it. that's the most humbling experience. And especially as a kid, it's great to have those faces and you're like, okay, how can I, reinvigorate this game to make it exciting for others? But great. So now we just have a few questions about the resources that were provided. Anyone can jump in here if you use them or if you didn't, totally fine. But how did you handle planning for the GDC? And were there any resources that were provided that you used to help with that?
I can
Yeah,
go.
the presentations were really good. The presentations, the weekly presentations for the spring and the fall, we found those to be really useful and fun.
Yeah, and fun. I thought our presenters were great.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you.
We also, I think there was the template that like asked them the different questions that they worked through, and seeing that up front really gave us the roadmap to, what are the questions that we need to answer? What are the final pieces that we need to have together? So we started with that.
That's awesome.
We used the template, and I think the interesting thing was all of the resources provided, because especially with teachers who are considering this as an option, it wasn't required for my students to use those resources, but after showing them the resources and presentations, they were pursuing those on their own. So I think that speaks volumes to what you've actually provided, that it engaged the students.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
From what I remember when I rolled through this, I think it was more because they've already had experience in development from the classes. I believe I simply passed on the web page and then simply let them take from what was useful. But otherwise, I think it was more kind of on them and or their past to see what was helpful or what wasn't.
Perfect. Oh, Teresita, I think you might be muted.
Yeah. So I use a template as well. I use it as a kind of like their homework. Okay, this week that you're going to work on the planning, and then just kind of like a guide for them.
Awesome. Perfect. I'm so glad to hear the templates were helpful. We're definitely bringing those back again this year, and we've spiced a few of them up a little bit. So hopefully you guys can find something new and fun to engage your students with again. So kind of going off of that, were there any materials or resources that you wish had been provided along with the ones that you found?
I think someone else might have mentioned, but it would be really helpful if we could see some past winners. I think just for some inspiration and for the students to get an idea of the gamut of projects, just so that they had kind of some ideas to start with. I think that could be helpful, especially because it is such a wide range of students. And I guess you don't want to like scare them off, because it doesn't need to be the most perfect polished product, I don't believe, to be good. But it would have been a nice starting place to have some looks at some previous submissions.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes total sense. Awesome. Well, if you guys think of anything else, you can obviously feel free to email me. But we're always looking to make it better. So thank you. Now David and Sarah said it. So we'll definitely look into getting some past order submissions up on the site for you guys. So next, we would love to hear what worked and maybe what didn't work within your team or student groups as they worked through this project.
So sorry, David, did you want to go first? Okay.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, what didn't work is I had some kids set really high expectations for themselves. They wanted to create an actual use what's it called, a platform to create a virtual game. So they were so stubborn in creating it, while my other group, they just started creating things out of paper. They didn't have white paper, so they were using their notebook paper and designing. And I was like, okay, you guys do what you do. So my other team didn't make it. They were kind of disappointed because they were trying to push themselves to do something so elaborate. They were only able to make a certain, get to a certain point. So this is a great learning experience, because now you can tell them, okay, no, don't go with something totally off. Don't try to be an expert or professional yet. Start little by little.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely.
I think what worked for us was the kids started thinking. I told them about this program, the contest before we had the theme, and so they just started thinking about, well, what would be a fun game, and we found that for two, we've done three so far, and two of them we started that way. We just started coming up with a game before we knew the theme and something that would be fun. And then the third time we tried to gear it so much to the theme and ended up with kind of a schoolish pedagogical game that might not have been as much fun. And so I think what really worked and really engaged them more was just coming up with something fun first, like what's going to be a fun game, and then working back to the theme, to the idea. I think that's definitely, and that's something we're going to try to do this time. The kids were already starting to brainstorm ideas, fun ideas, as opposed to just on the theme.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then integrating the theme into the game design instead of the other way around. Awesome. Yeah. Anybody else? Things that worked, things that didn't? Awesome. Well, we are going to move on kind of to the last section of questions that we have here today. And this is really where you guys get to be the experts on running a game design challenge theme. And we would just love to hear what advice you have for other people starting on their own GDC journey, whether as a parent like David, or whether as a teacher or a tech teacher or a gifted teacher, like the rest of our expert panel that we have here today. So anyone can go ahead and jump in, but what do you wish you would have known, or what advice do you have from someone else starting out for the first time?
I think one of the biggest things is just helping the kids set concrete timelines and deadlines for themselves to stay organized, especially with the fact that we had kids in and out with quarantine and being at home and not having devices or internet. So some of it having those concrete structured deadlines really pushed some of them to find a way to be resilient and resourceful at home if they didn't have their device, and what other ways could they access their materials. So I think from the teacherly side of things, those concrete stepping points, and then having check-ins with the kids where they're provided feedback, but it's guided feedback in a sense so that all of the work is still theirs. But you just provide probing questions and guiding questions so that they're inspired, but ultimately they're making the driving decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it helps them know how to set those goals and those concrete deadlines for themselves in the future. So that's a great extra learning.
I wish that I would have known I needed to have a conversation with my 8th graders ahead of time about whether or not we should be putting memes into the presentation chats. And evidently, I'll apologize, I think they got muted at some point. I didn't find out until after the fact that that was us dropping those memes there. I don't think they were inappropriate, just maybe not on topic. But then we had a nice conversation about when should we be sharing memes, and maybe let's listen to what the experts have to say and focus that way instead of seeing how many Pokemon memes we can drop.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. You don't even think that those are the conversations you're going to be having, but here we are. Somehow memes seem to come up everywhere, right?
I would say start early. Start even as soon as you can, just start coming up with a game, and because the deadline will creep up on you, especially with kids, because they you have to keep them on track, and that deadline gets to be a rush at the end. But if you start early, that's the best. You'll definitely appreciate that. We found that, and it gave us more time to kind of tweak a little bit and brainstorm and make it a little bit more creative. So definitely start early.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Putting that little polish on at the end, to really make it shine. Awesome. We have two more experts, Steve or Teresita. Anything you'd like to share?
Well, sorry, Steve. I'm just getting ahead of you guys. So something that that I recommend is be ready to add some research. Some of the some kids are only familiar with a certain type of gaming, which is, you know, just console gaming instead of like game boards. I think those kind of seemed ancient for some students. So kind of introducing examples. Also, a lot that I have to do is refer them to what's one game that you've played and you felt needed some type of improvement. What was it that you didn't like or you could have improved? So that kind of got them with their thinking on their brainstorming. And also have them share their ideas with you so you can be like, okay, so does this really make sense with what you're trying to do? Does it go together? So that I feel that helps them.
Absolutely. Trying to help them connect the dots. You know, there's a lot of dots going on. That's awesome. And Steve, did you have something you wanted to share?
Well, other people talk about the importance of deadlines. I mean, with anything, whether it's a competition or just a project deadline, it's really important to kind of break things down into different segments, kind of even planning to have things done in advance, I think is something that, that's what I did last year, was I just, stressed the importance of early deadlines, if you will. And I think that's something important that we did.
Absolutely. Yeah. And something that definitely anyone jumping in, really being aware of those is super, super important. Thank you so much for all of the experts who joined us today to share their pro tips of getting the most out of the Game Design Challenge. If you're excited to register a team, you can go ahead and go over to the bit.ly on this slide or the Legends of Learning website to register a team for the upcoming Games for All Game Design Challenge. On the website, you'll find lesson plans, templates and handouts, a parent handout, and a timeline of all of the weekly presentations from incredible game designers in the gaming space. If you have any questions along your journey, you can feel free to reach out to events@legendsoflearning.com, and I'll make sure to answer your questions right away. Thanks again, and we look forward to all of your submissions.